So, if you never heard the expression, there is an expression that says that the eyes are the window to the soul. I decided to do this upload, and I thought about recording the video really quickly because I saw a video of a brother who makes a lot of content, and his perspective is a pretty logical perspective. I like listening to the things that he talk about and the things that he says. It makes a lot of sense. But one thing that caught my eye was that a lot of times when I speak to people or when I watch people's content, I'm one of those people that I look at people's eyes and obviously, look at the energy and things. And this brother, not only him, but a lot of people, I am really, really concerned with how people are really doing. I appreciate the people who ask me, how I'm doing. For the most part, I'm doing. I'm a pretty figure it out type of person. Pretty much trying to, manifest the things that pretty much is a little bit more so above average. Well, without saying too much and going, too far into it about myself, I'm doing good. Some of our people, like I said, I recorded a video the other day, and I was saying, I'm not worried, but I am concerned. And then, I look at the eyes of the brother and the energy and, the way his energy is telling me that, like a lot of us, something is bothering him, or it could be the things that he's talking about, the things that we're seeing, that it might be, getting the best of him, or it may really be affecting him negatively. So another thing that I noticed, because I like to believe that I'm really good at reading people. In this particular video, there's like the thumbnails, and then there's like the part of the video that it captures, these apps capture. And so I was looking at, the brother's eyes, and I was thinking to myself, the eyes are the window to the soul, and people like to, jump to conclusions, and they like to make judgments and things about people's eyes. One thing that I notice is that when a person has something that is dark in them, when a person is either angry or they have that, what we call that sacred rage, maybe it could be sadness, different emotions, but all of the emotions that would be very valid in this time, considering what it is that we're seeing and what our people are experiencing, right? I was thinking to myself how dark the eyes look, how dark his eyes look. And not in a, I'm not saying this to be like, trying to judge him in a way to say that, oh, he has a dark soul, because some people are so ignorant and they think that just because they have a camera, that they have a tongue in their mouth, and that they have a mouth, that them speaking means that they should be speaking, or that they even know what they're talking about. One thing that I could see with looking in his eyes is that there was a lot of pain, and there was a lot of hurt, and there was a lot of frustration and confusion there. And when I saw, I literally, they say that the people that you attract to you, the people who you're commonly around, the people who you communicate with, that they are a reflection of you in some way, form, or fashion or another, whether that is, a high and the highest reflection of you, positive, sacred, or maybe, a darker or lower reflection of you, or a more negative reflection of you. Either way it go, they say that you attract the people that you are commonly around, or that you communicate with, to include some of the content that you would regularly engage in or watch, that those are the people that are a reflection of you. And looking at his eyes, it reminded me of looking at my eyes, either in a photo or in some videos that I've made where I was talking about things that were very, very disheartening, or things that I was very concerned about, or things that I literally was negatively affected by. So like, for example, right now, as I'm looking at myself recording this video, my eyes look very clear and they look pretty light, but it's very different from when I've seen myself talking about certain things where I'm speaking maybe a little bit more passionately, or maybe I'm speaking about something that is really negative, right? Like some of the things that we're experiencing. My eyes look a lot different and they may look darker. But does that necessarily mean that, when you see a person that has their eyes turned dark, that they have a dark soul? I see something different. And then it brings me to the point of me being concerned about the well-being of our people. I'm so grateful to God that I can communicate with people that look like me, that resonate with what it is that I think, as far as being aware of what's going on, and people who are consciously aware of what's going on. Because there's a lot of people who either they'll put their head in the sand, they'll ignore what's going on, or they'll be totally confused about what's going on. And then the things that they say and the way that they express themselves, it makes you wonder if they are on the right side of history. So also, it makes me feel a little bit happy to know that there are people who feel vulnerable enough to record and to express how they're really feeling about the things that we are experiencing. For me, it was hard for me, for a few days, considering what we are seeing on social media and the violence that is continuously shown to us, which is very intentional. We know that. I deeply felt a way about it, and I still will. What I want to do is I would love to continue to get with people who are like-minded and people who are concerned. What I don't want to do is continue giving energy to the wrong thing, and that is to include people. I literally had to pump my brakes, and I had to, go back and delete a comment from someone who I don't really care for. And just giving my attention to people and things that no longer serve me, things that I do not resonate with, and people that I should not be giving my energy to, people that I should not be communicating with, even if it's virtually, if it's in communicating in comments or commenting and things like that. Sometimes what I'm learning in this time is sometimes we are just giving too much of our energy. There are people who are really sick in the head. They're very sick in the mind. And they, as I said before, they get off on watching people hurt, more specifically people like us, because we're watching what it is that they're doing. They are, hanging human beings, hanging our people, and then putting it out on display for us to see. And for a lot of reasons, we know how these people continue to show their demonic nature and wanting to show people what they felt would make them recognize them as in some type of power or superiority, which a lot of us, we don't even resonate with that anymore, but while they're doing that, they're looking for reactions. They're looking to see how people are gonna react. A lot of people feel as though, there are certain onlookers and people in positions of power that want to make certain things happen, and they want to continue to share certain things in the media so that they can inflict martial law, or so that they can, do things that are going to be literally adverse to us, or make people that look like us experience adversities, right? But even then, If a person is doing something to try to get a reaction out of you, even if they are in certain, higher positions of power, wouldn't it be smarter to just, maybe expose these devils and then, pray for our people as we go, and then continue to do what it is that we need to do to support one another and to make sure that at home and in our communities and the states and cities that we live in, to make sure that our people are prepared, right? Because to pretend and ignore the fact that this demon and this beast exists is not the answer, and it's counterproductive, right? But to counter the terrorism, and that's exactly what it is. When we see our people, they're finding our people hanging, that's a terroristic act. And then when they're not showing that there are people in these positions of power that are supposed to protect us and are supposed to show us that they have the situation under control and they don't, we already know what time it is, right? But then also what they use to gauge what their next move is to watch and see what the community is talking about and what people are doing. So a lot of times it's watching and seeing what we're sharing. And then of course they're getting off because they know that it is negatively affecting us. And then we kind of express that in our emotions. So it's kind of like a lose-lose situation, So I'm happy that, we have the mind and the courage to talk about certain things on our platforms. But again, I think that this is a time that we literally need to, maybe put our focus more on exposing these devils and what they're doing. And then continue to move strategically to figure out, how do we get these devils out of these positions of power? How do we become heard? How do we, touch the right people and shake a hand and make a friend and talk to the right people who are going to help us get things done to get these devils out of certain positions so they can, stop doing these violent, heinous things because they feel as though they can do it and their buddies are in positions of power, which makes them feel more so at liberty to do these things, because we know that they don't give a damn about us. And they don't give a damn about our children. And I don't care if that's down south or wherever. Shout out to Ricky Smiley. He made a video and used his platform to remind sisters to stay prepared, to make sure that, like I said, a couple years ago when old boy went on trial for the domestic violence, and the whole world saw that on video. And I was saying that, women need to learn some marksmanship and to practice your Second Amendment right to protect yourself. And I was saying that, as it relates to anybody. But now, like Ricky Smiley said, I've heard a few people say that there was thousands of black women who, have come up missing over the last couple or few years. And people aren't talking about that in the media. They're not, making that a big story to show that, hey, there's real concern for that. Or even our children. It's not just black women, it's our children, right? So, self-defense all the time, and even not even only, defense, but what I would say is, just trying to make sure that you have the upper hand and the advantage, because we're living in a time where everybody's suspect. Everybody's suspect. When there's people in positions of power that want to use their positions to try to intimidate or try to use fear and control tactics, fear as a control tactic, that's a problem, because there are people in trusted positions who are compromised. And then there's people who are goofies and they clowns, and they'll tell you that maybe you should be quiet. And it's like, you say a lot of stuff that is at a distance, and people do a lot of stuff at a distance and covertly and subliminally, and I promise you, they don't have that same energy in person. So what I think in this time is that, people who are clowns and people who are not giving, the right information and not giving the right advice to empower our people, because all of that stuff that people keep on telling us about as far as what we should do as far as love and compassion and things, we were born that way. We are a loving and a compassionate people by nature, and that is one of the reasons why these things are happening to us, because when a person feels as though they can continue to do things to you and you're not going to do anything, they're going to continue that behavior because they're not being held accountable, or they're not being met with the same resistance. And that's some truth for everybody else. And if they don't like it, I don't know what to tell you. We're not on the same level. We're not thinking the same, and we don't resonate on the same level. And quite frankly, that's okay with me. But as I said, I'm gonna say it again, I'm not worried, but I am concerned. I'm very concerned for our people, especially when I see a black man and his eyes turn dark. I know what time it is, because I've looked at myself and I can read within myself what my eyes was telling me, just as well as I can read in anybody else's eyes. And I can just about tell what it is that they're feeling behind those eyes, you know? So that was the motivation behind this video. Self-care. Self-care in your awareness. You are aware, you're concerned. Maybe some of us are worried, you know, kind of like what Ricky Smiley said. God bless his heart. God bless my heart. God bless our hearts, the people in the community that I care for. If people don't feel like, you know, we're at war, or that we're not being hunted, I don't know what rock you've been up under, but you need to climb from up out of the you need to climb from up under that rock, right? Maybe splash some water on your face. But this video, you know, any of my videos that I make where I'm speaking about, you know, what's going on, and awareness is never to do exactly what the enemy is doing, which is to have you scared and out here paranoid and timid and anxious. No, I continue my days and my walks, and I treat everybody the same way that I normally do. I treat people respectfully, unless I already know what time it is with somebody, then I might be treating them different, because some people may feel as though you need to earn their respect. And quite frankly, they can kiss your and my ass. But the way that I move is just, you know, just right out the gate, I'm giving people respect that I come in contact with, no matter who they are, unless they show me, you know, different. But I move different, with a level of awareness, absolutely, but never anxious and timid and walking on eggshells and none of that. But only a fool would not be prepared, right? So this video is just because I wanted to, you know, express my love and my concern for those of you that I resonate with, and those of you who I know that are genuinely affected by what it is that we're seeing and hearing, and the people who may be struggling in whatever area, you know. If you you know, it's kind of like the comment that I commented on, Prakasaka, I believe is how you pronounce the brother's name. I commented on one of his posts, and he wrote he wrote something along the lines of, when you were at your lowest point, what do you wish someone would have told you? And I said, you know, what I commented was, what I would have wished someone had told me is that it's okay to take some time off. It's okay to focus on yourself. It's okay to fill your cup and make sure that your cup is full before you serve. And it's okay if you're not okay. And that's one of the biggest ones. I've heard some people tell people that. Nobody has ever said that to me, but I think that it is something that is a good thing to tell your brother and sister. It's okay if you're not okay. And the biggest question that we should ask one another in this time is, how are you doing? How are you doing for real? As far as I'm concerned, I'm just trying to balance my energy, because I already know what time it is with Queen Bree. I'm just trying to balance and tame. I'm trying to balance the energy. That's what I would say without saying too much. So, you know, I always give praise to the Most High and being grateful. So I'm gonna be all right, and I am. I'm good. But I feel it, and I know what's up. I see it, and I read it. Yeah. So, anyways, we should be, you know, checking in and asking people that we know care about us how they are doing. The people who show us that they care about us for real, you know, people who are in your circle that show you that they care about you. Check on your brothers and sisters that care about you, and ask them, if you haven't talked to them, ask them, how are you doing? How are you doing for real? Right? And to the brother, if he ever comes across this video, I'm not gonna say his name, but he may know that I'm talking about him. But that's to everybody. You know, if you are struggling and you finding it too hard, make sure that you're talking to somebody. Make sure that you're talking to somebody. Don't keep it all in. Don't numb and don't isolate. Because one of the biggest weapons that an enemy will use is to isolate you and to get you by yourself, because you are weaker when you become weaker when you're alone versus being stronger and greater in numbers, right? Plus, the Most High will have us to be in community. We're social beings, and we are meant to thrive and to grow and to build in numbers. So get with the people, like I always say, get with the people that you can resonate with, and the people that are genuinely, you know, concerned about you, who love you, and the people that support you. All right, you guys be well, and Ashe.